Hello, I'm Adam J. Schultz and welcome to another video. Today I'll be talking about the review of Genghis Khan, but before I get into that, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that watches my videos, my subscribers. You guys are the best. I didn't think that I'd come this far. I want to go a bit further, so if you want to leave a comment, leave comments. What would you like me to talk about? You want to ask me questions, anything like that? I'm over the moon. Let's start some interaction. So back to this. Okay, front of the book. Genghis Khan was responsible for the death of roughly 40 million people. Now that's as many people as probably Australia and New Zealand combined, or the amount of lies a politician tells in his lifetime. It's factual information. Okay, he wasn't always called Genghis Khan. He was born Temujin. Funny name, but Temujin. He was born with a blood clot in his hand, which back then was an omen for he was a bringer of death. Temujin's father was the Khan, or the leader of the tribe of the wolves. Back in the day, probably 1,000 years ago, the Mongol tribes were nomadic, moving around, and they were constantly fighting against each other. And Mongolia is a really bad place because you've got Russia up the north and China down the bottom. So the tribes are fighting amongst themselves. You've got the Russians, which back then were called the Tartars. Now, Genghis Khan's father was poisoned by the Tartars. Once he was poisoned, the Khan's bondsmen, or the bodyguards, who were supposed to look after the family, he got very ambitious, and Genghis Khan, or Temujin and his family, were kicked out into exile to die in the wastelands. The whole tribe moved away and they had to fend for themselves. At this time, Temujin was like 12 years old. Now, Temujin, his mother, he had a young sister and 4 brothers. They had to fend for themselves for a few months. Temujin and another one of his brothers killed the eldest brother, Bekta, because Bekta was catching food but not bringing it home not in their little camp, not bringing it back to his family, so Temujin had to kill his own brother. Within about 6 years, Temujin had started to gather other wanderers. Now the wanderers in the Mongol culture weren't very welcome because they weren't trusted. If you weren't part of a tribe, you couldn't be trusted. So Genghis Khan was in that position, and in about 6 years he formed his own little tribe of about 30 people. Great hatred for the Tartars, so he just started to develop a reputation as raiding the Russian camps. Like, he virtually invented guerrilla warfare. He'd do a lot of hit and runs, and his reputation was growing throughout Russia. They were really pissed off at him, wanted to kill him and his little band, and throughout the tribes of the Mongols. So as his reputation grew, I'm just getting comfortable here, he joined another tribe promising to split the spoils of the war. And a lot of the new tribe which he joined were very much in awe of this young guy. He was probably 18, 19 at this time. So they keep doing the raids, and the Tartars, or the Russians, are getting really pissed off, and they send an army of about 1,000 into Mongolia, and usually this scares the shit out of all the tribes, and they're coming down south, running away from the Russians, the Tartars. And Temujin, Genghis Khan, goes to his wife's tribe, kills the leader, takes ownership of the tribe in a bond of blood, and then he's got 2 tribes. This is unheard of, because the tribes have been fighting for each other, against each other for generations, and there have never been a joining of the tribes. This was Temujin's great dream. If he can combine all the tribes, he can conquer the world. That was since he was young, he wanted to do that. At this same time, he discovered that the Chinese, or the Qin as they were known back then, were constantly sending ambassadors into Mongolia for generations. And he discovered that they were paying tribes to fight against one another and sending tribes into the Tatar territory to take their attention off China. So China was using Mongolia sort of like pawns. Genghis Khan wasn't happy with this. When his reputation grew, his old tribe returned to him because everybody knew where he was at this time, and old debts were settled. So he had 3 tribes fighting as one. The Russians came down, he kicked the absolute crap out of them, and with every battle he wins, he just gets more hungry. So at the end of the book, he's got 3 tribes, and he's on the verge of conquering the world. So it's a really cool book. I love the story, but I'm not going to do one a week, because even though I love it, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I'll do a book maybe once a month or whatever, because I've got so many... One second. I've got ideas. Holy shit. They're all my ideas for my videos. So I'm going to mix and match and put things everywhere. So you're not going to be bombarded with this. They're going to be sporadically, yeah? So as always, like, share, subscribe, and stay creative. Bye.